Someone you loved died, too young, and somewhere out there is a person who has hurt people their whole life, who has never once been sorry, and they're fine, healthy, still going. And a thought crossed your mind that you probably felt guilty about. Why them, and not him? It feels like the universe made a mistake, like there's a rule that should exist and doesn't. So here's the question, is it actually true? Do the good really die young while the cruel live forever? Let's get into it. First, I need to say this. That feeling isn't bitterness. It isn't you being petty. Almost every human who has ever lived has had that exact thought. It shows up in ancient texts, in songs, in the diaries of people who died 3,000 years ago, which tells you something important. This isn't really about one person. It's about a wound in how we understand the world. So let's take it seriously, and let's start with the uncomfortable part, what your own brain is doing to you. Because there are 3 things happening, and none of them are your fault. The first one is this. Death makes people better. Not literally, but in your memory. The moment someone dies, something shifts in how we talk about them. Their flaws get quieter, their kindness gets louder. We tell the good stories at the funeral, not the bad ones. So the people you remember as too good for this world, some of them were, and some of them just died. And death did the rest. Meanwhile, the person who hurt you is still alive, still making mistakes, still giving you new reasons to resent them. They never get the mercy that death gives everyone else. The second thing is what you notice. Think about how many people die every day. Most of them you never hear about. They weren't especially kind or especially cruel. They were just people. But when someone genuinely good dies young, it lands. You remember it. It sticks. It becomes a story you carry. And when a terrible person is thriving, that sticks too. It offends something in you. But the millions of ordinary lives in between, the average person who lived an average length of time, they leave no mark on your memory at all. So your brain quietly collects the cases that hurt and throws away everything else. And then it shows you the pattern it built, and the pattern looks like injustice. And the third thing is the deepest one. Psychologists have a name for it, the just world hypothesis. It's the belief, sitting underneath almost everything we think, that the world is basically fair, that good is rewarded, bad is punished, and things happen for a reason. We need to believe it, because the alternative is that anything could happen to anyone at any time, including you and everyone you love. That's unbearable. So we quietly assume there's a system. And when reality violates that assumption, when a good person dies and a cruel one doesn't, it doesn't just make us sad. It threatens the whole framework. It feels like a betrayal. That's why this specific unfairness hurts so much more than others. It's not just grief, it's the universe breaking a promise you didn't know you were relying on. Okay, so that's your brain. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Because when scientists actually measured this, the answer came back completely backwards. There's a study that followed over 2,000 men for years, tracking their personalities and their health. And they measured something called cynical hostility, basically distrust of other people. The belief that everyone is selfish, that no one can be trusted, that people are out to get you. The men who scored highest on that, the most cynical, most hostile quarter, were more than twice as likely to die during the study than the least hostile men. More than twice. And it's not a one-off. A much bigger study, following nearly 100,000 women, found the same shape. The most cynical, hostile women had higher rates of heart disease and higher overall mortality than the least. Now, flip it around. There's a study that has been running for over 80 years, following the same people from childhood into old age, and it looked for the personality trait that best predicts a long life. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't cheerfulness. That one actually went the wrong way. It was conscientiousness. Being responsible, prudent, dependable. The person who does what they said they'd do, who shows up. So the actual data says something that sounds almost like a fairy tale. The reliable, decent, trustworthy people tend to live longer. And the bitter, hostile, everyone is out to get me people tend to die sooner. Which raises an obvious question. If that's true, why does it feel so completely the opposite? And here I have to be honest with you, because this is where a lesser video would stop and tell you it all works out. It doesn't, because statistics are not fate. On average, hostile people die younger does not mean the specific person who hurt you will. Averages describe crowds. They don't describe the man who wronged your family and is going to live to 90 anyway, and they don't bring back the person you lost. There is no rule protecting good people. There never was. Cancer doesn't check your character. A drunk driver doesn't ask if you were kind. The universe isn't running a moral audit. That's the part that's hard to accept, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. So, where does that leave us? Here's what I think, for whatever it's worth. The reason this hurts so much is that we keep expecting the universe to be the one enforcing justice. And it isn't. It never was. Physics doesn't care. Cells don't care. There's no scale being balanced somewhere out of sight. Justice isn't a feature of the universe. It's a thing that only exists when people decide to make it exist. Which means every time someone chooses to be decent, with no reward coming, no guarantee, no cosmic points, they're not obeying a rule. They're creating something the universe couldn't produce on its own. And that's why the good ones matter so much. Not because they're protected, because they're not. The person you lost wasn't good because it was going to pay off. They were good anyway, in a universe that offered them nothing for it. That's not a system working. That's something much rarer than that. So, have you ever had that thought, the one you felt guilty about? Let me know in the comments. And if your brain likes questions like this, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.